Sabrina Carpenter just did what most comedians wouldn't dare. She mocked Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live on national television, and the crowd went wild. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because this one's got the internet split right down the middle. It was supposed to be another lighthearted Saturday Night Live episode. Pop music, sketches, harmless laughter. But when Sabrina Carpenter took the stage as both host and performer, she flipped the script completely. What started as pop sparkle turned into pure pop culture warfare. In her opening monologue, she reportedly fired off playful jabs at several celebrities. But when her jokes turned toward Harry and Meghan, the laughter in the studio hit a different pitch. Because what she said wasn't just funny. It was cutting. And it landed like a royal scandal dressed up as a punchline. I watched it live, and I'll be honest, you could feel the tension shift in the room. Sabrina started off joking about people who make everything about themselves, before smirking and saying, "But don't worry, I won't name names. This isn't the Sussex podcast." The audience gasped and erupted. Some cheered, others booed. The punchline was sharp, risky, and deliberate. And she wasn't done. A minute later, in one of her skits titled Royal Tea Time, Sabrina played an overdramatic Duchess character who pretends to give advice on humility while constantly interrupting children to talk about her own achievements. The character's dialogue? Almost too familiar. Every time someone asks me to volunteer, I say, only if Netflix can come too. It was impossible not to see who she was parodying. Within minutes, clips from the live broadcast hit X, formerly Twitter. One post caption, Sabrina just ended the Sussex PR tour, gained over 3 million views an hour. But you haven't heard the craziest part. Reportedly, the sketch had been toned down. According to a show insider quoted by Variety, Sabrina rewrote half the jokes minutes before airtime to make them sharper. Sharper, indeed, because her next line made the studio audience lose it completely. Some people leave royalty to live free, but still travel with more bodyguards than the actual queen ever did. The live crowd howled, the internet exploded, and the royal drama machine roared back to life overnight. By Sunday morning, hashtag Sabrina Carpenter SNL was trending across the US, UK, and Canada. Supporters praise her for saying what everyone's thinking. Critics accuse her of mocking trauma and using Meghan and Harry for clout. Still, the majority of online users seem to enjoy the unfiltered energy. Even major outlets like Rolling Stone and The Independent ran headlines calling her fearlessly funny and shockingly self-aware. One viewer comment perfectly captured the sentiment. It wasn't cruelty, it was balance. They've dished out opinions for years. Now someone finally clapped back. It felt like a modern David versus Goliath, except the slingshot was a microphone and the battlefield was NBC Studios. Imagine Taylor Swift hosting the Grammys and casually roasting the Kardashians. That's the level of shock factor we're talking about here. Sabrina didn't just sing or joke. She challenged the unwritten rule. You can tease almost anyone in Hollywood, but you don't mock the royals, especially those who build an empire around victimhood and fame. Yet she did, and did it with charm. Then came the moment that had the live crowd gasping and producers reportedly scrambling. At the end of her monologue, Sabrina smiled mischievously and said, "Anyway, I hope Harry and Meghan are watching, but probably not from England." The delivery was calm, precise, and devastating. The camera cut to the crowd. A few jaws literally dropped. Social media erupted with theories that SNL had censored part of her follow-up remark for rebroadcast. NBC hasn't confirmed that, but fans noticed a quick jump cut between applause breaks. Whether or not it was trimmed, the impact was already global. Public reaction split fast. Some viewers said Sabrina had done what comedians are supposed to do. Punch up, not down. Others argued she'd mocked a couple known for mental health advocacy. But for millions, her humor felt like justice. Years of royal interviews, tell-all documentaries, and endless self-promotion had blurred sympathy into fatigue. And Sabrina simply said what polite society wouldn't. If you want to live private, stop inviting Netflix to dinner. That line alone became an internet classic. Within 12 hours, TikTok compilations of Sabrina's roast gained over 25 million views, with a top caption reading, "Queen Sabrina dethroned the Sussex Circus." Hashtags like hashtag Sabrina Savage, hashtag Sussex Roast, and hashtag Royal Clapback trended across the globe. Meanwhile, fan pages noticed Meghan's name briefly trended under Entertainment Meltdown on Google searches. Even comedians chimed in, one writing, "Finally, someone used comedy to remind us that fame doesn't equal immunity." As the laughter faded, a deeper conversation began. When do jokes become truth-telling? And can satire restore balance in a media world obsessed with privilege? Because Sabrina's performance wasn't just comedy, it was commentary. She turned the spotlight back on the public's collective fatigue. For years, Harry and Meghan have been both heroes and villains of their own story, oscillating between vulnerability and visibility. But that night, Sabrina reminded viewers that the royal narrative no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the culture they helped create. By Monday, media analysts were calling her monologue the pop culture equalizer of the year. SNL's ratings spiked 18% from the previous week, largely credited to curiosity around the royal roast. And while Meghan and Harry have not publicly commented, their spokesperson reportedly declined to address the jokes, saying only, "We don't respond to entertainment sketches." But silence in moments like this says everything. Because sometimes what you don't say echoes louder than any rebuttal. As I close this commentary, I can't help but think, maybe comedy is the last honest mirror left in celebrity culture. Sabrina Carpenter, a singer barely 25, stood where veteran hosts tiptoe and dared to make fun of the untouchables. Not out of cruelty, but out of bold observation. And whether you love or loathe the Sussexes, one thing's certain. For a few minutes on live television, the illusion cracked. The royals who once commanded reverence became punchlines, and America laughed without guilt. Because satire, when done right, doesn't just entertain, it resets the power dynamic. And on that night, the microphone belonged to Sabrina. They built a spotlight around themselves. Sabrina just reminded them who holds the switch. If you thought that was wild, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Comedy might have just dethroned the crown. Wait till you see what happened backstage after that SNL taping. Someone reportedly stormed out before the cameras even stopped rolling.